Welcome to Returning to Soul, a podcast for lawyers and other high achievers seeking deeper meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in their work and lives. My name is Jessie Brown. I practiced law for 15 years before becoming a career alignment coach and purpose guide for lawyers and other high achievers. I also work as a meditation teacher, a breathwork facilitator, sound healer, and forest bathing guide. And I facilitate women's retreats in Sedona, Arizona. In this podcast, we explore what it means to return to our soul, to discover and live from our true purpose. So before we dive in today, I want to ask you guys something. When was the last time you felt genuinely excited to go to work? Not just fine with it or getting through the day, but really looking forward to it. If you can't recall a time or if it was in the way distant past, this episode is for you. Today, we're talking about burnout, but not necessarily in the way the legal profession and many other professions talk about it. What I want to share with you is rooted in research, specifically the work of Dr. Christina Maslach. She's a professor of psychology at UC Berkeley, and she's one of the world's leading experts on workplace burnout. Her findings have shaped how I work with my coaching clients, and I think they're going to shift something for you too. So let's get into it. First, as she says, burnout is not a personal failing. I want to start here because this might be the most important thing that we talk about today. If you're feeling burned out or heading towards burnout, it's not because something's wrong with you. Many lawyers internalize burnout as evidence of some deficiency. They think, maybe I'm not smart enough, maybe I'm not strong or tough enough. Everyone else seems fine. Why can't I keep up? I hear this from clients all the time, and these are talented, hardworking, high-achieving people. And some of them tell me they cry in their cars on the way to work. So Dr. Maslach's research tells us a different story. She found that the work environment itself, is more important in understanding burnout than any individual characteristic. In other words, it's not about trying to be someone you're not or forcing yourself to function in an environment or a job that doesn't align with your true nature and your needs. It's about finding a role or creating a career that truly allows you to share your gifts and use your strengths while honoring the unique needs of your mind, body, and soul. So the next area I want to dig into are 6 specific areas where Dr. Maslach says there can be a mismatch between an individual, such as an attorney or other professional, and their job, and this can create the conditions for burnout. I want to walk through all 6 because this framework can be useful as a diagnostic tool and as a starting point for change. So you can think of these 6 questions as things that you can ask yourself about your career right now just to get some insight into what's happening. The first factor is workload. And this one may be the most obvious. It's one we talk about a lot, but it's more nuanced than just working too many hours or too many projects. The real question is whether the demands placed on you are sustainable for you and whether you have personally, individually enough resources to meet them. And not everyone's nervous system is built the same way. So research suggests that roughly a third of the population is what's called highly sensitive, meaning their nervous system processes information more deeply, takes in more data from the environment, and they are more easily overwhelmed by high pressure, high volume environments. So if you're a highly sensitive person, you likely need more downtime to recover from intense periods of work than your colleagues do. And in an environment of just relentless deadlines and endless tasks switching and constant interruption, it's not just hard, it may be genuinely unsustainable. I remember the sense of recognition and relief I felt when I first learned of this genetic trait of high sensitivity. This trait exists in over 100 species, and while it's associated with high levels of creativity, intuition, and empathy, it also means we are more impacted by working in stressful environments with lots of competing deadlines, frequent interruptions, and being around other people who are highly stressed. So the nervous systems of highly sensitive people are like finely tuned instruments that pick up and react to subtle changes in the environment. So they're more likely to enter into a fight, flight, freeze state when they're exposed to high levels of conflict and stress. Highly sensitive lawyers bring many gifts to their work. They have a lot of creativity, they have strong intuition, and their ability to read people and situations is highly accurate. The tragedy is that many law firm environments don't have space for those gifts to be seen or valued. And when our strengths are underutilized and our nervous system is overwhelmed, burnout is almost inevitable. So this is why this workload conversation can't be a one-size-fits-all approach. What feels energizing to one lawyer may be totally depleting to another lawyer. And both experiences are valid. The goal isn't to toughen up and match someone else's pace. It's to find an environment that actually fits who you are and the many, many gifts you have to offer. The second factor is control. How much autonomy do you have in your work? Can you exercise your own judgment? Can you innovate, make meaningful choices? Do you have a say in how you do what you do? For many lawyers, especially in big firms and especially in those first few years of practice, the answer is often very little control. And our level of control at work directly correlates with our job satisfaction. So when we have none, it really does take a toll. I can still remember when I was told to write legal briefs with a more aggressive tone, which went against my nature and values. I lacked the creative control over how I communicated in my work, and it made my work less satisfying and made me feel like I couldn't be my authentic self as a litigator. So the third factor she identified is reward. While fair compensation certainly matters, Dr. Maslach's research found that social reward is often more important. Do your colleagues and clients notice and appreciate what you do? Do they let you know when your work has made a difference? Do you feel seen and valued at work? So many lawyers work so hard but feel invisible. And it has an impact. It erodes our motivation over time, even if there's a large paycheck involved. The fourth factor is related, it's community. The quality of your relationships at work matter a lot. Do you trust your colleagues? Do you feel supported? Or are you navigating what Dr. Maslach calls a socially toxic workplace, where you can't admit that you don't know something and you feel like you can't show that you're struggling? You feel that you can't ask for help. I have clients who really do enjoy their legal work, but they feel alone at their firm. They don't feel that they can trust their colleagues, and they feel like they have to perform perfectly at all times and can't ask for help. And many of them have been harshly criticized for even minor mistakes or have been thrown under the bus in various circumstances. So this feeling of not being able to trust their colleagues is often quite justified. So this is exhausting and it increases our risk of burnout. The fifth factor is a sense of fairness. Are opportunities distributed equitably at your work? Or are there what seems like glass ceilings, favoritism, double standards? This is about whether you feel psychologically safe in your workplace. When a sense of fairness is absent, your nervous system picks up on it. You stay on high alert, and it leads to more stress hormones. Over time, this has consequences for your health, your well-being, and your ability to sustain your work. The sixth factor is values. So this may be the deepest factor, and in my experience, it's often the last one that lawyers and other professionals consider, but I think it can be one of the most important. Dr. Maslach describes burnout not just as exhaustion, but as what happens when, quote, the spirit, the passion, the meaning is just getting beaten out of you. Are you doing work that matters to you? Does what you spend your days doing align with what you actually care about? I still remember when I deposed a plaintiff who had sued our client, a large hospital system, for gender discrimination. And my role was to defend the company and to try to highlight the physician's mistakes during the deposition to justify the company's decision to terminate her employment. But I knew the facts of the case, and I knew that many male physicians had made similar or more serious mistakes than she did, and they had not been disciplined. I also knew that her boss, who was responsible for her termination, had a history of gender discrimination. My role in this deposition went against my values, and everything in me wanted to empathize with this woman, to connect with her. And after the deposition, I stopped litigating and asked my law firm if I could switch to estate planning, which thankfully they allowed me to do. So when your values and your work are out of alignment, No amount of time off from work, no vacation, no stress management strategy will fix it. Because the problem isn't that you don't have enough bandwidth. It can be your soul telling you that something needs to change. Now, I want to explore 3 dimensions of burnout. Dr. Maslach identifies 3 overlapping dimensions. The first is exhaustion. This is that feeling that I just can't do this anymore. And this is the one we talk about the most. It's probably the most visible, but it's not the whole picture. So I remember when I was a summer associate at a large law firm in 2008, I was still in law school, and a female lawyer came into the bathroom. And she thought she had the bathroom to herself. It was a large bathroom with many stalls. And I was in the furthest stall all the way at the end. And she came in and assumed she had the bathroom to herself and began crying and just weeping and saying over and over again, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And I actually lifted my feet off the floor and just sat there frozen because I knew she felt she had the bathroom to herself. And I didn't want her to feel embarrassed that I was in there. So I sat there for several minutes while she cried and just repeated, I can't do this anymore. And then eventually collected herself and went back to work. And this was my first exposure to burnout. And unfortunately, this was not the last time that I witnessed this or experienced similar things myself. So if you've experienced anything like that, I just want you to know you're not alone, but this is something important to pay attention to. And the next dimension of burnout is cynicism. So this looks like doing the bare minimum at work, kind of checking out emotionally, feeling maybe resentful or even contemptuous for the work itself, sometimes the colleagues or clients. And the third is what Dr. Maslach describes as negative self-evaluation. So this can look like questioning your competence, your worth, your future, feeling hopeless. She calls it the erosion of your soul. And that phrase really stood out to me because I've heard versions of it from many clients, and I also experienced that. So if any of this resonates, I want you to know these are symptoms of what I call career misalignment or job misalignment. And awareness of this is the first step in aligning your career with who you really are and what matters to you. So I want to leave you guys with some practical tips that you can do. The first is to go ahead and run your own 6-area audit. You can go back through these 6 areas: workload, control, reward, community, fairness, and values. And for each one, you can ask yourself, is this working for me? Or is there a mismatch? You don't need all 6 to be perfect, but if several are off, and especially the values one, this is important information. Second, know your own nervous system. If you resonate with that description of a highly sensitive person, I want you to know this is a gift. When your needs for rest, downtime, solitude are met, being a highly sensitive person can become your superpower. And it's also a lens for understanding what kind of work environment will allow you to thrive. The third is I want you guys to know burnout is about more than just exhaustion. It's also about when we notice we're getting cynical or sensing a loss of meaning, that quiet erosion of our soul. So you can ask yourself, what's motivating me to do this job? Does this work matter to me? Does it feel meaningful? Is this how I want to spend what poet Mary Oliver calls my one wild and precious life? Fourth, you can use misalignment as information. If your values no longer align with the work you're doing, this isn't a crisis. It's just your inner compass pointing you towards something true. And this is where the work of career alignment really begins. So I also want you guys to remember that you have options. If you're a lawyer, law is more than just big law. There's small and mid-sized firms, there's in-house roles, you could work for the government or a nonprofit, you could do policy work. There are also law-adjacent careers that still allow you to use your legal experience and draw on your strengths. And for some lawyers, the most aligned path leads them outside of law altogether, which is totally valid. So you have options. And finally, I want you guys to think about what your good days at work look like. Dr. Maslach says that when people are burned out, they often describe a good day at work as simply one where nothing bad happened. And if that resonates with you, please hear that you are worth so much more than simply getting by with nothing bad happening. When your work aligns with your true nature, it becomes a genuine source of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment, and even joy. I've seen this happen with clients, and I've experienced it myself. I have a client who went from feeling burned out in a big law firm to thriving as an in-house lawyer. She told me she didn't realize she had a cloud hanging over her head until she left her firm and went in-house. And now her new job allows her to meet her own needs as a highly sensitive person. She finds the company's mission and the work she does meaningful, and she truly enjoys and feels supported by her colleagues. She also has a very manageable workload and good work-life balance that allows her to spend quality time with her husband and kids. So this is what's possible when our career really does align with our true nature and our needs. So if you're a lawyer or other high achiever who's been feeling burned out and wondering, whether something's wrong with you, I hope this episode has shown you that nothing is wrong with you. And instead, I invite you to consider, in what ways is your job perhaps misaligned with who you are and what you need to thrive? I want to give you permission to meet your needs. Your needs are valid. And these questions are just the beginning. If you want to go deeper, I've created a free career alignment map, and you can find the link to this in the show notes. So if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a colleague who might benefit. And thanks again for spending this time with me. This is Returning to Soul, and I'm so glad you're here. Until next time, be well.